is fire escapes. Our presenter is Francisco Meneses. Did I get it right? Okay. He is the president and owner of Fire Escape Engineers. He has been working in the ironworks industry since 1975. First started working side by side with his dad's ironworks business, which is still active today. Francisco has many years of experience working on railings, window guards, furniture, fire escapes, and holds a Boston, Mass license and Los Angeles, California license issued by the fire department. On fire escapes, both licenses are for inspections and repairs. These two licenses are the only fire escape licenses available in the United States. Fire Escape Engineer Incorporated was the first company to introduce a fire escape confidence test that is now being used in many states and has the only inspection bid report offered in the nation. All their inspections include sign-off by licensed fire escape inspectors or structural engineers. They have been given fire escape awareness seminars to fire departments, building departments, and housing inspectors in many cities and states across the country, to include Boston, New York, Newark, Chicago, Seattle, Tacoma, Portland, Oakland, Houston, Dallas, Rhode Island State, and Connecticut. So, warm welcome for
so thank you for the warm introduction. Today it's going to be back and forth. Just so you know, as of 2012, the building departments in the nation started saying in the IBC code, hey, any questions on fire escapes, go to the IFC. So it was only in 2012. Some building departments held on to it, like Massachusetts. But just so you know, nationwide, I primarily teach this class to fire prevention all over the nation. So about 40 states are all IFC 1104. I'll talk about that today. Massachusetts currently holds the distinction of being the best IBC code. Do you know that I have not found any other code IBC related in any other state that says, hey, do it every 5 years? And the reason why it happened is that back in '75. I only had enough books to put one book on each table, but this happened in 1975, Marlborough Street. The fireman was using his apparatus to get up there, fourth story. As he got close, the fire escape just pulled away from the building, dropped the woman who died. Her knees fell on top of her, won a Pulitzer Prize for this photograph. So if you do anything and you get this, you have a copy of this book, just post this in your house to remind you that fire escapes are made for people to get out without your assistance. Okay? And also for firemen to use to get in, and not only save people who couldn't get out, but also to save themselves in case all hell breaks loose, and it usually does. All right? So that's what this is here. Now, I want you guys to also understand today's class, 75% of it will deal with metal, but 25% of it will deal with wood. Because your Mass Building Code 1001.3 says the following: you will inspect fire escapes that are made of steel, made of wood, things that are balconies. You know what I'm saying? So it's not, the 1001 is not just for metal fire escapes, which I have a copy of one here. So if you can't bring a horse to water, you bring water to the horse. Guys, this is a 75 to 125-year-old piece of a fire escape, which I'll show, and it came out of a school. And this is the condition I took it out of the school. And I have several pieces of it. This is the smaller piece, but basically it's going to show you what the children, that used it to get up from a second floor to the recreational yard. So every day the children use this. It was about 4 feet wide. I had to cut it into smaller pieces, but this is the exact fire escape that I took away, and I'll show you the pictures of it. And it basically, I want to show you where the lead is. So if you see these, all fire escapes have lead. So the children were kind enough to use their hands to, collect and eat candies and put hands in their mouth. And so the first question you're going to get is, who asked me to remove this? Was it the annual inspection by the fire department? Said, hey, on this Catholic high school that went from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade, I think it was it the fire department on their annual inspections? Was it the building department that came in and said, hey, this looks kind of crunchy, let's get this out? Wasn't them. It was the maintenance guy. Said, hey, I think we should get this out of here and put a new one. So I'll show you a picture of it, what it looks. But I got Rusty up here to show you what square head bolts look like, what some repairs look like, what welding is and what it looks like, and why it's illegal to weld a bolted fire escape system. It's actually a code. Not every state has this code, but New York thought it was important enough to stop welding witch doctors from welding fire escapes. So they made it illegal to weld a bolted fire escape system as a means of repair. You can use it if there's an emergency and you just need to button it up that moment, but then they're gonna come right back, break that connection so that these bolts can rotate. So when you have a connection, like this connection, this is a gusset, like this connection full of rust, when it heats up, it needs to do this. When it cools down, it needs to do this. When there's a slight tremor, earthquake, it needs to do that. That's what these things. As soon as you weld it and you freeze it, it starts doing this. And then rust starts doing this, or starts doing this. And it ends up looking like this, where the head is still there, the nut is still there, but somehow you grew ½ inch of rust inside. This is what hurts tenants, what hurts firemen, because, and firefighters, I gotta keep reminding firefighters, because you all, and I don't know if you can see that, but you all get to come up here during the show or after the show, and that's what it looks like inside when you let it rust. Okay? It cuts down to a 1/16 or down to nothing. And all you need to do is step on it the wrong way. So tenants step on it the wrong way. Firemen step on it the wrong way going up or coming back down, weighing 200 or 300 pounds. And so that's the force it needs for it to just shear, because there's nothing there to hold you up, okay? So rust is great. You give me a 1/4 inch of steel, brand new, leave it alone. It'll grow to 1 inch of rust in 25 to no more than 50 years. It all depends what side of the sun is hitting it. Is it under a tree, still moist all day? Okay, so these pieces are all of here. This is what I use when I do an expert witness case. Okay, so let's get on with the show. I'm gonna rapid fire. Usually these are 4 to 6 hour segments. I do a 3-hour in the morning. We do a 3-hour in the afternoon. I can go onto YouTube. You guys can type on YouTube, type in the word fire escape inspection, fire escape repairs, fire escape I've been putting YouTube videos up for over almost 20 years. Since YouTube came out, I've been posting the proper way to inspect fire escapes. And that's all this is going to be about, is do you trust whoever's going to be looking at your fire escape, and what is the document that they use other than their own words, and they say, hey, I looked at it, it needs a couple of things, it's all right to me now. Metal or wood must be examined. So some of you don't have, except in your downtown, a few fire escapes to talk about metal, but plenty of you have wood porches on the back, and it's part of the 1001.3. All, ready, this is the code. All exteriors, steel or wooden stairways, balconies, bridges, fire escapes. They put it way at the end, but everybody thinks it's way at the beginning. So if it's a second means of egress out of a building, it must be maintained under 1001.3. And if you have a cement hybrid, yeah, it's in there, okay? So, ready for some rapid fire? Let me give you guys, this is very good for you to take home. First of all, what you have here is Lowell. You want to copy something? I give you a blank. So we can give you can call Lowell, ask them. They have the #1 IBC code in the nation. Confidence test in the nation. I gave them about 10 classes. They're my #1, and we just read it. It's all yes, no's. So whether you're an engineer, as you know, design professionals are others acceptable to the building official, right? And what is that? Engineers, architects, and others are somebody in the industry. I'm considered another. And it also lets you say, I like the others, but you know what, I still want an engineer to peer review Another that you don't take. But look at all this. What's he got in here? Questions. You know what these questions are? These are about the components on the fire escape. So no longer a simple letter is going to come, guys. So all you have to do is, if you want the PDF of this, if you want the Word document of this, call the city or call us. We'll give you a blank, and as you can see, it's simple. Get their emblem out, put your name and address here, and the rest of it speaks for itself. And at the end, what do they have? If you go to the end of this, they talk about load testing. You know what load testing is? Load testing is the verification that that fire escape will hold onto the building. It's easy to fix the outside. Change a bulb, give it a paint job, but it's hanging on a building that is now, the average age of rusty here is 75 to 125 years old. If you got a new one or a newer one in your city, it's because it was built between the 1950s till the present day. It's 75 years old. So the key is that these things are supposed to be maintained. There's been no enforcement. There's been nobody. And if it ain't broke, right. So coming on here, I'm gonna give you guys the industry standards, right? This is the best IFC code in the nation. I'm gonna talk about it. And what that is, they covered everything that needs to be done on a fire escape, and we should adopt the code here for the exceptions. And I'll go into great detail about the exceptions because it tells you how you don't have to load test a fire escape. Do you understand? The NFPA has had it out since 1927. The authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. You know what other evidence of strength is? A full refurb. Every bolt comes out, verify the connection into the building, and you don't have to load test for 15 to 25 years after you refurbish your fire escape. So we're not selling load tests. We're trying to force people to do what with their old creaky fire escapes? Just change every bolt. Change every connection. You got a weld, back it up with a bolt. That's it. That's the answer. So that's the full technical need on a fire escape. Take out every bolt, put in a new bolt. Any internal rust you got to remove, and if any worn material, you can sister it or you can replace it. It's all simple. You know who does this work? Ornamental iron workers. You know who can also do this work? Welding fabricators. You know what they can't bring? Their welder. Because it's against the law in the state of New York. And they put that out since 2010. So I will tell you why you can't weld. Because weld is what drops people. I'll explain it here in this class. So everybody, we call them welding witch doctors because they're very cheap. So I'm going to go into great detail. It doesn't mean that they can't be used in the moment, but that's not the cure for any bolted fire escape system in the nation. Okay? Does every state have that code or that law? No. But I'm telling you that welding witch doctors are not allowed in the entire state of New York. I think we touch it for some reason, right? I think we touch New York to a certain degree. So, last piece here.
They're allowed in Mass?
No.
They're allowed in Massachusetts?
No, you allow it in Massachusetts.
Oh.
And I was, normally I used to put up the video, but what that means is that in 2014, if you allow welding witch doctors, they kill firemen like they did in Boston in 2014. You remember the welding guy was welding a fire escape in Boston? Bzzz, caught the neighbor's shed on fire, burnt the neighbor's house, all stories, and these guys were in there knocking on doors and doing whatever, 60-mile-an-hour winds that day, and what occurred? As soon as they started breaking windows, I think, they didn't get burned, I think they just died of asphyxiation or whatever occurred on that, and that was from a welding witch doctor. Okay, so is welding allowed? Nope. Guys, fire escapes. Boston Globe put this out last year when I went to do the MBCIA, right? The MBCIA, I taught a class there, and a week before, if not 2 weeks before, the Boston Globe puts out this article. I was part of this article because I was interviewed, and it said that of the 9,000 known fire escapes in the city of Boston, only 3,000 of them have documentation and certification. It's 1/3. So Mary Wu, reading this article, getting a bunch of calls, she sends her entire inspection division that touches fire escapes to that class. We've never had such an outpouring because they weren't always showing up for those classes, and all of a sudden, this article. But it also shows that in your city, where you belong, you're gonna find that fire escapes are the bastard child of egress. And it's out of sight, out of mind, and forget about the wood ones. The metal ones, if you can find one, is one thing, but the wood ones, which is just everywhere. Okay, so you guys ready to rapid fire? Let me see if I have anything else for you guys on here besides the thing. So this packet is for you guys to read. I'll cover it some here on the class. Please use the Lowell confidence test. Just put your name on it. And what is it? It's a question. It's a document that must be filled out by design professionals. And then they'll see the question. It's liability, liability, liability. The questions are very specific. And if an engineer, an architect, or another lies on that document, and an incident occurs, they're liable for the situation. So they love to sign the other document. And Boston is the only one that ever put out a document. And Boston, till this day, still has the same confidence test. You know what I'm saying? That says, hey, the fire escape is in good order, and it meets the mass building code. All it asks. And you know who can sign off on that? G3 licensed people, right? Because they work on fire escapes. You know who doesn't allow G3s to sign anymore? Because there was people were just selling paper. Chelsea doesn't. Somerville doesn't. All the surrounding cities do not accept a G3 licensed person to sign off on fire escapes. So please stick to structural engineers, architects second, and then if no choice, you've got the what's considered another, right? So let's rock, let's roll. Credentials. I was a slave. Let me give you my credentials. No credentials. There you go. I was 12 years old. I'm an immigrant. Came here in 1968, just so you guys know. My dad dragged me along, so for free labor. And when he started his shop in 71, he already had a labor force, me and my brother. So he brought me in, and we did railings, window guards, and such. And that's where I always started to learn about fire escapes. Painting them, fixing them, you know, and all the other ornamental side of things. And just, you know, nobody gave us any indication of how to fix it, what to fix it. Could you weld it? Could you change the bolt? Paint it, lie to everybody. You can do anything you want, because then you can sign off on your own work. 50 years, everybody's been signing off on their own work. Think about that. In Boston, okay? There's been some crap. So I went to Bridgewater State College. No, it's a Bridgewater University, and marketing and advertising. And then when I left that, I went to try to get away from my dad as far as I could. And I was in the selling insurance and mutual funds. And then the market crashed. It aged me, just, you know, I'm 62, but just to age me, and it was in 2008. I'm sorry, 1988, when that market crashed. And I had to go back with my father's, with hat in hand, saying, hey, I can help you out a little bit here, but I'm really looking for something else, and I haven't left ever since. My first client, the best client, because of my marketing degree, my sales, was Harvard University. They gave me 375 fire escapes to inspect and repair. Google came out at that time. YouTube came out at that time. So that's when I took this thing national. I said, if Harvard with billions of dollars is not maintaining their stuff, and that's where it went. So we're nationwide. I have an office in California, in San Francisco. We have an office down in LA. We're down in New York, in the tri-state area. So, because nobody wants to deal with fire escapes. Nobody wants to deal with the rusty gold. All right, so let's move on to, I think I have to point this out there. There you go. So these are all my all my credentials and such, and where have I taught? I've taught nationwide. So Maine to Florida, Chicago to Texas, and from Seattle to San Diego, okay? So, and it all comes from experience, meaning I just found the void out there. For 50 years, nobody was keeping tabs on any of this information. I collected so much of it for me to use personally that I decided to start the National Fire Escape Association. I teach this class free of charge nationwide, just so you guys know. And a lot of times, you know, saving lives one fire escape at a time. You'll see here, I also load test and inspect fire towers that you guys train on. So we'll show that here. The first ever fire tower that I ever load tested was and inspected was in Oakland, California. So if you have any fire towers around here that have a fire escape usually on the back, whether it's wood or steel, I inspect those, okay? All right, so as you can see, we teach the housing authorities, we teach the, I think I'm gonna have to keep aiming it like that, there you go. So I've been all over the country. I teach. We do downtown walkarounds. Some of them are very formal. Some of them are informal. Doesn't matter. The key is the more you know about fire escapes, the better you're going to be equipped to not get on them. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to talk about taggings. We'll cover all that. So this is that famous picture I told you guys about. Won a Pulitzer Prize for this photo. Look at all that steel falling down. So, he survived. He grabbed the ladder. Survived. He's alive today. Sadly, this is her niece. She died. Her niece fell on her, but survived. But all that steel avoided or hurt one, but didn't hurt the other. That happened in '75, and because of that, Massachusetts became the only state in the nation with the IBC code that forced a 5-year. Okay. And I talked to you about the Boston Globe article. You get a chance to read it. But out of 1/3 of the Boston fire escapes are certified. In your city, in your situation, you're gonna have the same problem. So you have to go and look and say, okay, how do I get my building department to step up on this? What is it in your code that you have to write? Because you have to have 2 means of egress. So write it up. That if you question, and a lot of times you can put it on your checklist. You don't have to enforce the 1001.3, but you can ask for a copy of the affidavit that is required by law. So write that down. Just say, hey, can I see a copy of your 1001.3 certificate? Because they're buying the property, they're selling the property, they're doing a rental exchange, whatever you have that needs verification that you have 2 means of egress in that property. All right? Let's hear this one. This is how long I've been playing with this. Ready? I had hair at this time. Come on, Hank. Play it.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him.
Oh, I was scared to death.
But the fire escape that broke underneath him.
When it ran and just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes. Rusty, deteriorated, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So then over here? For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the
Correct.
fire escape.
Right.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one, a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files
But there's no fire escape certification.
to see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No,
4 more fire escapes,
did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away with that?
I guess the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this? No?
But when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens.
You weren't there.
In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes. Again, according to inspectional services,
Northampton.
not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Ryan.
So I guess we hit a nerve with Northampton, I guess.
Just a lot of nerves. I'm just grateful because yesterday I picked on Chicopee all day, so sorry, Kathy.
So the one thing you guys don't know, because I'm an expert witness on a lot of fire escape fatalities. If you don't have a certified fire escape, the insurance is not going to pay. So if you want to get the word out, because if your guys get hurt, the owner's property is what you may be able to snag onto, aside from the insurance you have for getting hurt. But I'll talk to you about a case where one of my first expert witness cases was a fireman that fell through three levels of fire escape stairs and was permanently injured at 28, and I'll go into that case in a little bit. But it's not just iron, right? You guys got more, you got plenty of wood out here. Trust me, I was looking at, I'm a leaf peeper, you know, and I was at his place in Pison Road for this seminar, just, 2 hours ago, saying, where's everybody? Oh, no, you're close by. I said, okay,
Close by.
Then the GPS, which was supposed to take me on 90, instead takes me on that, beautiful back roads. I'm like, hey, and I'm like, oh, so, because next week I'm in Dallas, and so I'm not gonna see the beautiful leaves, so I got my wish. So, God works in mysterious ways. All right, so here's another one, guys. Wood. You got plenty of wood porches, you got plenty of wood stairs, and the building code is clean and clear, right? All exterior steel or wooden stairways. Have we mentioned fire escapes yet? So you got anything coming out of a house 6 feet up or 16 feet up, guess what it's covered by, right? Sometimes, you say the front stair falls into the envelope of the building, but everybody keeps the front stair always great. But the back stairs, the back decks, the back everything, all exterior, steel or wooden stairways, balconies, bridges. So if you have a little bridge over a babbling brook, guess what? We get to inspect it. Then they say fire escapes and balconies, which is those crossover balconies in a lot of the row housing. It covers everything. It's a great code. And you got to do it every 5 years. And if you don't, tenants get hurt. Firefighters get hurt. They don't know. They don't know. You know who doesn't get hurt? Landlords. Yeah, building inspectors, but Louise, we all care about you, girl. But I have yet to see a building inspector ever hurt on a fire escape. It's out of sight, out of mind. It's in the back usually. It's the bastard child of egress. And yes, Louise will never. But we should make a code here in America, in Massachusetts, so that America can adopt it, that all rents should be collected through a fire escape. And so all you have to do is post your envelope on the back door of your fire escape or on the window of your fire escape, and only the landlords can collect. They can't even use an agent. You're gonna see a lot of fire escapes get fixed like that. But just so you know, the insurance companies are stepping in. I'll cover that in a little bit. So, but just so you know, tell your people, your non-certified fire escape is the first thing the insurance company needs to say, I'm not paying this claim, put your property up as collateral, because that's the first thing the lawyers do. They lien your building, just in case there's a non-payment by the insurance. Your building just went up. Yeah, they can sell it, but the proceeds, whatever, if there is any proceeds left, goes to whoever got hurt on a fire escape, okay? Now, this is what happens on wood systems.
Take a look at this shocking fall caught on camera in Hyde Park, and we do want to let you know the woman in this video is going to be okay, but definitely a terrifying ordeal for her today. NBC 10's Mike Manzoni joins us live from Hyde Park now with a closer look at what exactly happened there, Mike.
Audrey, it all started on the top deck. That's when the woman walked outside this afternoon and seconds later found herself on the ground several stories below after crashing onto a car. And tonight, investigators are trying to figure out what exactly went wrong. This dramatic video shows the moment a Hyde Park woman fell through her third-floor staircase, crashing onto the deck below before heading over a railing head first and landing on a parked car, leaving this dent. It all happened on River Street Friday afternoon.
Look at the dent on the railing, on the fence.
Neighbor Ariel Davis rushed over to help the woman. She found her banged up, but otherwise okay.
So I went out and I saw my cousin's friend on the ground, so I ran and to see what happened, and the stairs was collapsed and she was on the ground, so I helped her up and she had bruises and stuff.
Railing was supposed to hold her in.
Inspectors taking photos of the mangled deck. The district fire chief has concerns and questions.
Just by looking at it, anyone could tell that the craftsmanship isn't correct.
It's still unclear why it collapsed, but it has had problems in the past.
Come by and scrutinize the building, and it's very clear to us that there's a history of negligence in this building.
Davis is just glad someone parked in the driveway before the accident. She fears what might have happened if it were empty.
If the car wasn't there, for sure, she would have probably broken her neck or something, so the car saved her.
All right, well.
And that woman is in the hospital tonight. Neighbors who helped her out say
You got plenty of these in some of your three-deckers. Plenty of these.
Be okay. For now, we're live in Hyde Park. Mike Manzoni.
All right, so here's the thing. Let me reenact that situation for us. She fell from the third floor. She doesn't even live there. She was a friend visiting, and she's using the back staircase, which they use every day to move couches and all kinds of things in. And when I went there to examine this, right, to be an expert witness, what did I find? It was an all-nailed fire escape. A wood stair system. And everybody doesn't know this. And this wasn't a pressure-treated system. This was an original system built 40, 50 years ago of pine with paint. And so every nail had rotted out. So what happened is that when she's from the third floor, she stepped on the stair slid away. Meaning all 4 points holding that staircase just gave way. So that's what she came down and landed on the floor below with that full staircase. Then she fell and rolled into a railing which is supposed to hold 200 pounds of lateral load. She just blew right through that from the second floor. She then proceeded to fall, and then she hit the chain link fence next to a parked car. So she ping-ponged off the chain link fence, smashed her head into that fender. You know what it takes to use your head to bend that fender? And she survived. Okay? Lawsuit, it's a condo. That whole building in the back is a condo. And so, this is the kind of thing you have to worry about, is that these wood ones are now creeping up right next to metal fire escapes can last 75 to 125 years. Rusty's an example right there. Even though it's as old as Jesus, it'll still hold to a certain degree. But wood doesn't hold. People don't realize you have to replace a pressure-treated deck, pressure-treated staircase. You have to replace it 25 to 35 years later in its entirety. Forget pine. Pine is just sitting there, and it looks great. So what is the cure? Because do we load test wood? We can load test wood, but we don't load test wood. But what's the cure for a wood fire escape system that it's on its last legs, it needs 5 more years, where you say, hey, I'll give you 5 more years if somebody's willing to sign off on it. But What do you have to do to it? Metal, metal, and metal. Home Depot sells all the metal, all the straps, all the gussets, all the things, and you metalize, you Frankenstein a wood fire escape system when you can. If you can't, it has to be replaced. But when you can, you metalize it, and then what happens is, now that person has an ability to be warned and say, 5 years from now, I will not, and usually that's us telling them, we will not sign off on this. But here's 5 years to collect your monies and get your wood fire escape replaced. So everybody understand that if it's a pine system, it's gonna get replaced in its entirety in 25 to 35 years. That's what the wood manufacturers say. If it's a pine one that's been painted and you have some of your structures are pine painted structures with no screws. No deck-mate screws that are covered with a coating. And what do they get here in Northampton? Freeze and thaw. Every year, freeze and thaw. And then once you open it up and water gets in there, what's it do? It feeds the nail. And that nail is getting all the, and this is what happens, okay? That woman that just fell there, and she survived from the third story, and she ping-ponged all the way down. So she fell and then ponged on that second floor. Then she fell and the railing, to a certain degree, slowed her down again. Then she fell and then she hit a fence. Then she smashed her head, and then she got wedged in between the two things. All exterior, steel or wooden, stairways, balconies. So this was made for wood, because they mentioned fire escapes, which were made of metal, last. So guys, get on the wood kick. Everything wood in your city, just start chasing it, because it's it's 50 to 75 years old in some cases. Okay, so this is what's going to hurt everybody. Oh, let's talk about Rusty. This was Rusty. This is a kindergarten to 8th grade. Kids came down here. This is a a rubberized thing. Kids play. They went up and down. They got underneath it. You know what I'm saying? We finally moved it to the same same door, but this is the new one. So I said when I started, it was all. I saved this piece, 3 pieces. I have this piece, another side piece, and the main thing we try to show is just how bad things look like, and what old looks like, and what's the giveaway that it has lead paint. Everything older than 1978 has lead paint, so you have to treat it with the. You have to have an EPA renovator's license. Okay, let's go through the machine gun here. So this is the piece when I cut it down, and what I did is I stopped welding it. What I do when I go and look at all the holes in it and stuff like that and all the repairs that were done, I welded it to show you how the welding witch doctors go out there and they fix fire escapes in your city. First of all, they never got a burning permit, right? You don't need those. Nope. And then, so what they do is they go out there and they, the client, somebody with a typical 3-story or 5-story fire escape could have the following prices. You got to write them a violation, or the city writes them a violation. They go out there, and the first guy they get is the guy that's going to do it right. Says $23,000. It's the terrible freeze. $23,000. Okay, $23,000. Oh my God, and he starts crying and crying and crying because back in the day, $23,000 bought you another house. But nowadays, he's like, I got to get another bid. But he's going to do it right and give you a 25-year warranty on it. Change every bolt, soup to nuts, give it a paint job, caulk every connection, $23,000 as an example. He gets another call from a guy that doesn't know everything, but he knows enough, and he's going to do some things that are obvious and some other things that are not obvious. He'll weld a few things because it's easy. He'll change a few bolts because it's easy, but anything difficult he won't, and he wants $13,000 for that. He's trying to satisfy a violation that you guys wrote. And all of a sudden now the welding witch doctor shows up. When the welding witch doctor shows up, guess how much he's going to do this job for? $3 grand. He's got a violation in this hand, a proposal in this hand, and then the first thing the guy that gets this $3 grand, quote, can you cure this violation? He says, yes, I can cure this violation. I have a pocket engineer, stamp whore, for lack of a better word. Right? You guys know those people, right? And guess how much he gets? $300. He then cures your violation with $300, puts $3,000 in his pocket, welds and tries not to burn the building down. And then, is that fire escape strong that day? The answer is yes. Because he welded rust in the connection. He takes his welding rod here. He takes his welding rod here, and he says, oh my God, look how much time it's going to take me to get all that rust out of that connection. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get I'll get a piece of iron, I'll stick it over here. Now that's not thick enough. Let me get this one. I'll stick a piece of iron right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld this rod of 1/2 inch or 3/8 or whatever. And I'm going to weld it up here to the metal of the stringer. And then I'm going to weld it down here to the metal of the tread, and or to the gusset or to whatever. And that's called a repair. Restoration, which means I have to take this clip, break this bolt, break that bolt, remove this rust, go in and remove and repair and replace or reinforce any worn metal. This is a gusset for a triangle support, you know what I'm saying? And this is what the inside of tubes look like. On rail, they rot from the inside out. You'll never see on the outside because you keep it painted. So, do you understand? So the welding witch doctor gets in there for $3,000. You're not checking. He doesn't pull a permit. You know why they don't pull a permit? Because it's routine maintenance. Paint it, routine maintenance. Scrape it and paint it, routine maintenance. Change 1 bolt, change 10 bolts, change 100 bolts, routine maintenance. Now if I extend it, you're supposed to pull a permit. You know what I'm saying? I extend the fire escape 5 more feet, that needs a permit. But welding witch doctors have been under the radar for how long? Long enough. That they've killed and injured many, many people. We'll talk about a case. So this is what treads look like when I show up sometimes, right? This is the City Hall up in Haverhill. But Haverhill. See, look at the broken treads over there at City Hall. Whoa, the building department's there, by the way. But the firemen, when they fight this fire, they'll use this fire escape. All right, let's take a look at some more. Don't mind me as I show, this is actual shots of the Chelsea home for veterans on their fire escape. So if the bullets didn't get you, the fire escape will bite you. Okay? Some of you, if you want to watch, I think I had one guy recognize me here on Instagram or on TikTok. I'm the fire escape guy. We have about 2 million views already, and we've only been out for 60 days. So nobody knows or cares about fire escape, but this is one of the typical things. This is the Boston one. Is this fire escape safe? Let's take a look. All fire escapes must be structurally sound and must be kept painted. So obviously, nobody has painted this fire escape for 25 years. What happens when you don't paint fire escape? Rust is allowed to grow in a connection. Let's take a look at all these connections. Look at all that rust, huge amount of rust there. On the right side, look how green that is. That's all rust by somebody who didn't do the job correctly. They put in new bolts 15 years ago, but they never removed the rust. So this fire escape does not pass today. Now, it's the law. You must inspect your fire escape every 5 years and have a certificate on it. This thing does not have a certificate of any kind. But whether you own or you rent, there's liability here, because if anybody gets hurt on one of these treads giving way, the insurance company will not pay the claim simply because you have a non-certified fire escape. And you were taken by what we call the welding witch doctors, where they put in bolts for you, but they don't remove the rust because that takes too long. This is not safe. So if you're ever bored and you go watch a channel, I must have about 500. And you go to YouTube, type in fire escape guy or fire escape inspection, and if you want to see a real inspection from all over the country of the minutiae you have to get into when you're inspecting treads and fire escapes, it's all there. So codes and regulations. So guys, I won't bore you with this too much, other than saying that you're an IBC state. 40 states are IFC. So the IBC versus the IFC versus the NFPA. NFPA has been around since 1927. Very easy code. You're gonna love now that the code has finally been adopted by one state. You're gonna copy a state, you copy Oregon. Why? Because we taught so many classes there, but nobody bothered to call me and tell me as a surprise that in 2022 they came out with a code that basically encompassed everything I ever taught. You'll love it because it covers everything that needs to be done on a fire escape. So it's the same, your same code, but it has what's called exception. And it's the exception that you guys must adopt, the exception that you guys must follow. It's the exception that basically just makes common sense. Ready? All right. So IBC builds it, IFC watches it, and then the NFPA has been around since 1927. The authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. But they don't have a 5-year. Think about that. They never told you, hey, do it every 5. Because it didn't make sense in 1920. You know what I'm saying? Because iron was it's my grandfather's problem, you know, or my grandkids' problem. So, so like we said, maintain it. Please do it, you know, so if you want to maintain, please do this, please, please, please. Maintain it with threshold, please do it every 5 years. And today, what is it? Maintain with threshold and report. So your code says I must report. The IBC says I must give a report to the city official. Not the plan of how I'm going to fix it. It says the report must be submitted to the city official. It's there. So the inspection happens today, within 1 to 3 days, you must report to the city official. Hey, that fire escape passed. What are they going to do with it? That's the plan. The plan's going to come. And does the plan need a permit? That's between the building official and the person. Right? But the report must be submitted. It's in the IBC code. It's also in the IFC code. Okay? Let's see what we have here. So, your 1001.3, all exterior bridges, steel or wooden stairways. See where fire escapes are? Ooh, way at the end. Sam, please guys, stick to this. All exterior bridges, steel or wooden stairways. Okay, anything that feeds a building must be examined in its exterior. Even if it has a little cover, if it's exterior, it must be, it's right in your code. Fire escapes are here, and egress balconies is the crossover balconies that you get in row housing. So fire escapes are at the end of a code that now, trust me, you got plenty of wooden structures, right? Let's see if it's just here in Massachusetts where we got snow.
Fire escapes is supposed to be a safe way out in emergencies, but some experts say some fire escapes are themselves a danger that puts people at risk. CBS 2's Marcia Kramer demanding answers tonight.
You see the train already dislodged by itself? How much rust is inside that? I wouldn't go on this fire escape.
It was an eye-popping afternoon with
Hank
nationally
Philby,
recognized fire
Ryan's
escape expert
cousin.
Cisco Meneses.
They all look the same.
Over here. I look straight up.
There's a hole. As we walked the streets in downtown Manhattan, it was also too easy despite dangerous conditions.
Should this fire escape have violations?
Yes, it has been kept painted, but it's not structurally sound.
Heavy rust was clearly visible, and something else we saw over and over again, air conditioners.
That's an obstruction for the firemen to get in, as well as the people to get out.
Any obstruction, from flower pots to art installations, can impede a safe escape in an emergency. But even more frightening, the structural integrity of fire escapes designed to save lives in some cases has proven deadly. Earlier this year in Soho, a tread fell from this fire escape and killed one pedestrian and injured another. And in May of 2011, an entire platform gave way from this Midtown building.
You can see here the evidence of corrosion. That's what caused the platform to fail.
Attorney Herb
I'm an expert in
says
both
the
these
victim
cases.
fell 12 feet and needed multiple surgeries. The building eventually settled the lawsuit for millions.
You got to live with pain for the rest of your life.
According to the Department of Buildings, there are about 200,000 fire escapes in the city, and they are all required to be maintained by building owners. In buildings 6 stories and above, fire escapes and building facades are inspected by the DOB every 5 years.
We have a limited number of inspectors in the city. We do the best that we can.
And they were clearly concerned when we showed them some of what we found.
This is a clamp. How do you feel about that? It's holding the fire escape together.
That's an unacceptable condition.
So what about situations where you have clearly rusted out parts?
We will write violations for failure to maintain when we run into those conditions.
This year, there were more than 5,000 311 complaints to the DOB, as well as the Department of Housing Preservation and Development and the Fire Department, who also does regular inspections to make sure firefighters are safe.
If you feel a fire escape is dangerous or unsafe, we don't expect our members to go up.
The fire department says they will put up ladders or find another way in.
Firefighters have been seriously injured on fire escapes previously.
There's a dear price to pay when an owner does not carefully maintain the fire escape.
The fire escapes on some of the buildings can be 75 to 100 years old. Our expert told us that some of the bolts holding them up have never been replaced. If you see a dangerous situation, call 311. I'm Marcia Kramer, CB.
So on that building at the Treadfeld, it was passed by a huge engineering firm as safe with maintenance repairs required. It was a female inspector that was looking at it. She stepped on that tread and it went bing, 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 bong, and the guy was just walking, family man with 3 kids, and boom. Then it ricocheted off the ground, and there was this girl walking the opposite way to go to dance class or something, and she got hurt, injured. So the most important part is that this is a nationwide issue. It's not just here. You guys are only dealing with your issues here. So in your downtowns, you do have fire escapes, more than you think, that are metal because they're in the back. And a lot of times, the building department doesn't know about it, but the fire department knows about it, because you guys do your walk, your pre-plans, you guys do all kinds of things. And sometimes these things are metal, but sometimes these things are wood. And in the middle of the night when you're rushing in, you don't have time to determine whether it's in good order. You just believe, you pray, and you go. You go in, just do what needs to be done. Guys, you need something that says, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. Imagine having one of these on every metal structure. Are you guys required to, on all your fire protection equipment, have a tag of some kind? That's in your code, I believe, right? All fire protection equipment. So in California, a fire escape is called fire protection equipment. Must be maintained, it must have a tag. Or it can have one of these, right? And what it is this is good. You can see these at night, you can see theirs during the day. You can have one of these, says it's being repaired, but it's functional. Imagine that, it's being repaired, but they must leave it functional every day. What's functional? You take this bolt out, you put a new bolt in, leave the rust, because it's being repaired. It's being restored. So that bolt will hold it until such time. So most fire escapes get made functional so that they can use it, anybody can use it, and then it gets totally restored, one bolt at a time, so that you can get the white tag. Otherwise, you get one of these. If you get one of these, and the law requires that I notify you and the building department that that building's not safe. So the tenants will have to get out, or they're gonna be a fire watch, right? Because this is what we're doing, right? And then at the same time, those people can be put on hotels, right? But you must notify. In California, if I get a red fire escape, I can't leave the scene until I call the closest fire station for them to send a noisy truck to come down. That's required in my license. They take over and they speak with agents, owners, whatever, because right now it's a danger not only to the tenants who live there, but also to the firemen who are going to show up and the firefighters that are going to show up to get in and get out. Right? So the fire escape, the International Fire Code, the NFPA, the International Building Code, they're all saying the same thing now, everywhere. But right now when you go to the IBC, it says see the IFC. Just so you guys know, they gave it up in 2012. Woo! When some states kept it. Right, Luis? They said, we love it. But sadly, most building inspectors have not done their job. They're not enforcing it. They're not required to enforce it, because if you own a piece of property, you're supposed to know that you're supposed to maintain this and maintain that. And, sadly, it is the bastard child of egress. Even though in 75 we have that 5-year rule that came in, it quickly got out of favor. But you guys have all these requirements that you have. The city has all these requirements. It just needs to be added to the checklist, not to enforce the 5-year, but to ask for a copy of the 5-year. So you're inspecting extinguishers, where's my 5 years? You're doing a smoke detector sign so that somebody can move in. I need a copy of your 5-year, because in case the smoke detector goes out, the sprinkler goes out, whatever, where's the second means of egress and is it certified? Add it to your checklist. You don't have to enforce it, you just add it to every checklist you have when you walk in a building. Just say, hey, just need a copy of, so you're not stepping on IBC toes. I need a copy of the certificate that you already gave to the city. You don't have one? Let me refer this to the building department. So you can't sell this building, you can't do this and you can't do that. You're holding up, but they're also putting at risk not only the tenants in that building, they're putting at risk the firefighters who are gonna go there. So imagine, aside from collecting rent, imagine that if you didn't have a certification on your fire escape, that you guys could just surround and drown every building. That'll be your cure, right? We'll put a nice sign there. I don't have my fire escape certified, just surround and drown, just pour water into my building. Right? All right. We'll keep it going. Question?
Can we take a little break?
Only if you decide to, yeah. Yeah, break, guys. 5 to 10 minutes, please.
10 minutes.
Take some,
10 minutes, yeah. 2:10. Strict, right. AIS.
Thank you, guys.
Hey Jay, where's the water?
Yeah, well, that's my hat. That's the hat I use when I'm doing the fire escape guy. And just that thing took off. We're almost at 2 million hits on TikTok just from people not aware that this danger is right outside their window. So this is another example.
I think we need to wait for more, unless they left.
This is just another example of a TikTok, one of the TikTok video blue hats. So while we're waiting for the room to, anybody have questions? Questions on how to help your building department get these things back on online? Questions? Not from Northampton, because it'll be a cold day in hell.
We're very fortunate. We don't have a lot. Our building inspector, we go out and inspection, so he acts right away for them.
Perfect.
So he's pretty really well.
So that confidence test is gonna be helpful, because if you have a local engineer, you have a local architect, and they're gonna be inspecting fire escapes, and they don't have a questionnaire, which is what the confidence test is. I'm saying, and if your fire escape is 75 to 125 years old, the decision should be made to do a load test, and that comes from the engineer or the architect, not from the city official. If the engineer determines that he wants to load test the system, you can't say yes or no. At the same time, if you have an engineer that's not doing his job, can you ask for a load test? The answer is yes. So you can trigger the need for a fire escape load test.
By you mean the building official?
Building official, fire official. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget. There's a lot of codes out there, and as you know, sometimes you guys cross and suggest strongly, certain things, and if you have a good rapport with your building inspector, you know what I'm saying? Because I think you guys write a reference, right? Or what do you call it? Whenever you refer, right? You refer to the building departments because you strongly want a request for an inspection. So, but like I said, 40 out of 50 states, the IBC has given it to. And it's been since 2012. Okay? As they say, IBC builds it, IFC watches it, right? So, but in Massachusetts, still holding on to it?
Yeah.
Every 5 years, we have everybody back?
Sorry, yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at, when we inspect fire escapes, we're up 5 stories, 15 stories or more. Look how high I am. And a lot of times, I go up a fire escape, ping pong. This day, we were doing a fire escape, 12 stories, and we were doing an investigation for who? For the insurance company, right? So I'm coming from the top 12th floor and the 11th floor, but primarily the 12th floor, pulled away from the building with a bunch of firemen on it, fighting a fire. And it held on by one through bolt on the railing, because the whole platform was all rotted out on this 125-year-old structure, significant structure in Manhattan, old, established building. It had never inspected its fire escapes. Okay, so normally when I go up, I ping pong for my safety. But let's see. Hey, Farscape guy. Let's see if these treads are safe for me. I use a 2-pound hammer or a 3-pound hammer.
Plus years old.
It pings.
This has never been maintained or inspected in its lifetime.
Look how high I am.
To New York City, local law 11 should have caught this fire escape this bad 50 years ago, 25 years ago. Now today, all fire escapes must be inspected every 5 years by law in the entire state of New York. Whoever inspected this the last time didn't do his job.
Like that one?
Yeah.
Again, go on TikTok. You'll see hundreds of these all from all over the nation, right? My latest one was in Montreal. We were in Montreal and did some fire escape inspections up there. But here you go. This one you'll like.
When you really have a fire escape inspector and not just an ornamental guy or a welding guy trying to tell you that you failed, he doesn't do any reports, doesn't report to the local city official. This is how you know. Because they're not hammer testing the fire escape as they go and produce a report for you, which you're supposed to do by law. So let's take a look. Who can and can inspect fire escapes? This is what happens. Look at this. Look at it. Look at that. With every tread comes a tenant or a fireman because you haven't maintained as required by law. The law says every 5 years you must check this.
So that's for my safety. You guys bring your 2-pound hammer with you when you're fighting fires?
Well, we don't hit stairs.
Yeah, we don't hit stairs.
You sounded quick on your way through.
So ping ping means a still connection. Ping pong means I have something left or nothing left in that connection that used to be 3/8 round. This is, so you get treads that, you know, I can use this as a pen, you know, and an ink. Okay? So this is what I'm dealing with, guys. This is what you're relying on to go up fire escape. So if you want to, you know, this one didn't even get to, but when a welding witch doctor puts in bolts but leaves the rust, they eat the 3/8 bolts all the way through. And when I ping it, I'm safe. When I pong it, and on that one I was ponging the thing on one side, it'll just drop. Because usually I can catch it. This is a 125-year-old fire escape, guys. Okay?
Is that the step that hit the guy in the sidewalk?
But that's what happens, you know, a lot of my comments that came on that, you know, but I already knew there was a thing below me, so, but it happens all the time.
So what happens if you find that like that? Were you inspecting
Emergency.
it for them? You have someone found right away?
Right away, I'm supposed, not right away that second, but I have to notify the agent or the owner, hey, listen, I'm gonna be sending you a letter that you must send to the city official, and if you don't, I will, even if I lose you as a client. Because now I'm not gonna lose my license, will be held, because it becomes in court, it becomes that question. What would a reasonable person do that identified something that could hurt or kill a tenant or a firefighter? And my job is to say, hey, I'm gonna turn you in if you don't, but your job is, I'll give you an example, this just happened just 2 months ago, right? Not even. The Wang Theater in Boston. I went there to inspect it. Had life safeties everywhere, because they were using a welding witch doctor for 40 years who had been taking advantage of them. So I said, hey, Wang Theater, politically connected and knows everybody. I said, hey, the law says right here, a report must be submitted just for the safety of the people that are gonna come in here and listen to music, and for the firefighters, so they need to come here. They did. And for the first time ever, and I mean ever, and I've been around for a while, a little bit for 37. Listen, they came down, the fire department and the building department come down and shut it down on a Thursday. So that doesn't, so the calls were made, anywhere and everywhere, anybody you know, hey. So, because I've taught this class so many times, I put together a response team. We had about 5 network vendors that all came in. We all came down on that thing. We fixed every tread, everything that was loose, everything that was, and so we had the fire department come down, we had the building department come down, and at 2 o'clock they gave the, all right, you can have that show tonight. Millions of dollars saved because they were gonna close it that whole weekend. And this was a Thursday night, shows Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But, we gave them what's called a functional certification because it was an emergency repair. So can those things happen? Yep. Can they get ugly? And I've been around for a while. Never has that happened. Why it happened that day? But we were able to put together a team, get emergency repairs done as of 2 o'clock that afternoon, got the all clear signal, and it was a moment, but millions of dollars averted. Okay.
Did they follow up though?
Oh yeah, no, it was one of those, you're gonna do full, they're under full restore as we speak. So it became one of those, yeah, you're gonna do that, but immediately right after that, you're gonna continue, right? Well, yes, we are gonna continue. So that was, that's where it can go, guys, okay? All right, Oregon's code. All right, so the language I'm about to read to you has all your codes in it, right? So you have a simple code, what I'm saying, that says, fire escapes must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. It's in here. But in here, they took everything we've taught at through the National Fire Escape Association. I've taught over 10 classes in Portland, Oregon. Okay, I've taught in Seattle, I've taught in Tacoma, LA, San Francisco. I've taught everywhere in the country, right? But they came out without inviting me to the release, this code. And they have the code, which is the IFC 1104, standard, 5 years, report to the city official, because the 5 year just came in 2012, guys. It wasn't there before, okay? IFC 11, and then finally the IFC said, hey, IBC people, just give it over to fire. We watch things after they're built. You guys ain't maintaining it, because IBC has not maintained for over 100 years. Because if it ain't broke, that doesn't work, guys, especially when it's only firemen responding to these incidents and people getting hurt on these fire escapes. So let's talk about, you'll love this code. How you adopt it into mass code, the exception, how you bring it in, how you reference this code, look, right? So the examination and materials and strength, pretty standard, right? Components of fire escape stairways are constructed of non-combustible materials, right? What is that? Is it iron? Yes. Is it aluminum? Yes. It's non-combustible. And it could be made out of wood? Yes, if it matches the building type. So a lot of your wood structures are allowed to be a means of egress because it matches. So a wood house will burn a wood fire escape. You guys understand the rationale there? So let's go continue. Non-materials and balconies shall support a dead load, live load of not less than 100 pounds. That's a load test, right? Do we want load testing on fire escapes, or we want refurbishment? Refurbishment. So the load test is the penalty for not refurbishing your fire escape that is 75 to 125 years old. Spend the money on bolts, and these things ain't cheap to load test. $5,000, $15,000, $25,000 every 5 years. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next thing. Examination. Fire escape rails, ladders, and balconies shall be examined for structural adequacy and safety in accordance with the 1104, the Oregon Structural Code, Specialty Code, by a registered design professional or others. Who's the others? Somebody that's in that industry. So if I happen to be in the fire escape industry, so I'm considered an other. Otherwise, design professional is an engineer, not necessarily structural, and a registered architect, not necessarily a landscape architect. As long as he's the registered professionals. Got it? So try to have them at least be focused. Louise, you're shaking your head. What is it?
Yeah, the code doesn't require a design professional. Code requires a competent person.
Woo! That's new, but your code says design professional, others acceptable. I'll show you on your code.
Oh, yes, it's acceptable, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. That's new for me, guys. So what happened is competent people were happening in Boston. So welding guys and ornamental guys were signing off on fire escapes, and they're the only one. They're called a fire escape installer, a fire escape mechanic. And the only place that has it is Boston. but they were so bad at it because there was a 50-year gap of no knowledge, no information, right? That all of a sudden, in Boston only, welding, anybody with a G3 license can sign off on a fire escape that they just fixed. There should be no problem with that, guys. I don't think there's gonna be any abuse. And I have a G3 license. And my dad is a G3 license. And did he abuse that? Oh yeah. Why? Because you could. There was nobody watching. You know, you did the job for $5,000, you give the piece of paper for the mechanic. But Chelsea said no more. Somerville said no more. You know what I'm saying? Cambridge said no more. You know, there's all these little, and they said, no, we want a structural engineer. Not structural, a design professional can sign off on these. We don't allow G3s anymore in the outskirts, but Boston still allows. So if you can fix that, Louise, I'll tell you. You know, you can fix the fire escape, but you can't sign off on your own work. That should be a standard. You know, okay?
What's a G3 license?
It's a ornamental license to railings, window guards. It's a standard Boston license.
Oh, is it?
I have a construction supervisor's license, and I also have a G3 license. But if you're gonna build railings and window guards in Boston, you have to have a G3 license to pull a permit.
It's specific to Boston?
Specific only to Boston.
Okay, good.
But they allowed other cities to use it,
Okay.
but there's been abuse. For 50 years, the welding witch doctors have had their way, and they've killed 2 of your friends in Boston, just so you know. The welding witch doctors. Okay? So, let's see right here. So, in Oregon, and then required by the fire code official. So, others acceptable to the fire code official. The inspection report shall be submitted to the fire code official after such examination. After such examinations. It's the same thing as in Boston. Boston says at the end you must submit something to the building official, to the AHJ. And you think anybody does? Nope. You know what I'm saying? So does a welding guy, a welding witch doctor, an ornamental guy who gets $200 or $300, shows up there at somebody's house and the fire escape almost passes, they can always cure it for $1,000 to $3,000, $3,000 to $5,000, and then they say, but do they ever say, hey, you know, your fire escape failed, these are the problems, and by the way, here's a little report, should you want to use this with the next guy, or the next person to repair. So nobody ever submits to the city of Boston a fail. Every document you have in Boston is a pass. Every document you have anywhere else in any other city, including Northampton. Because it'll be a cold day in hell. So just got to be aware, the document is supposed to come from an engineer or an architect. So if you write a violation, you want the report. Not the plan, guys. Don't confuse the report of failure with the plan of repair. Two totally separate things. Okay? The repair plan is what they share, the owner shares with the vendor who's going to do the job. The only thing you get is a pass or a fail. You guys get no fails. But the law says you must submit. Ready? Oregon code, best code in the nation. I helped write it, but they didn't call me to the party. But it's one of the greatest. The exception, guys. Exception, the testing interval of fire escapes that have all connections replaced. Oh, reinforced or duplicated may be extended as specified by the registered professional, which means you don't have to load test for the next 15 to 25 years as long as you keep it painted. Could even be 35 years. You know who gets to choose? No load testing? The design professional. The registered is approved by the code, extended by, specified by the registered design professional, if approved by the fire code official. So the registered professional with the fire code official, do this. We did this 25 years ago. I'm going to let it go for another 5. The client keeps painting it. It's great. But 35 years from now, they should change all the rules. Sure. On average, every 35 years, every window's done on that house. 35 years, every electrical thing is done on that house, right? All the plumbing is done, the boilers, the roof. So let's throw fire escape bolts into that, okay? Let's continue, ready? When the fire escape component is determined to be unsafe, imminent safety hazard condition, the fire code official shall be notified immediately. Where required, the building shall be either evacuated, and this is code, this is written. Before you guys were like, oh, I'll do it, but where's it written in the code? It wasn't, and it isn't, except for this state. It shall be evacuated, or an approved watch shall be provided until the fire escape has been repaired and approved by the building official. All fire escapes shall have signage indicating the current condition posted on the lowest balcony or directed by the fire code official shall be clearly visible, legible, and rather resistant. They want these things on fire escapes from now on. You have it on extinguishers, you have it on sprinkler systems, and it's a fire protection piece. In the state of California, a fire escape is a fire protection equipment. Would you consider in your state that a fire escape is a fire protection piece of equipment that firemen use? So if you firemen use it, then it's a fire protection equipment and it has to have signage indicating that it's under repair. Questions so far? Questions? Good code so far? Gets even better. Okay, signage. Condition of the fire escape, date of posting, site of address. Others as directed by the fire code. Approved signage and or shall be provided by any face taken out of service. The fire escape and the balcony shall have signage posted. At entries to the fire escape's ladder shall be posted the signage on the roof, the lowest balcony. Termination. The lowest balcony should not be more than 18 feet from the ground. What do we do, jump? That's what it says. Fire escape stairways shall extend to the ground or be provided with a counterbalanced stair reaching the ground. Hey, you guys have a ton of buildings with fire escape ladders terminating at 9 feet. You know why? Because it was an anti-theft device. But you know, you ever have a little old lady or an 8-year-old child jump 9 feet? The reason why is the code when you built fire escapes from the 1900s to the 1950s, plus minus. That was the big push on building every fire escape in the US from here to California. It said in the code to build it, which is not here, it's gonna be in how to build fire escape code, right, in the IBC. You can terminate at 9 feet and then have a ladder or a drop ladder extend to grade. All fire escapes must extend to grade to be certified. So what they took is they read the language and they terminated at 9 feet and they just forgot about the extension. But all fire escapes must extend to the ground. So whenever I see those, I have to put a note on there when I inspect those fire escapes, say it's a fire, it belongs back to the building department. If they'll accept it as a pre-existing non-conforming. Because I don't want to be in court. I don't want to go to court if somebody, little old lady has to jump, and the firemen have to jump 9 feet. You know, you can fall the wrong way from 9 feet and do what? 6 feet is OSHA. So guys, every time I see a 9 foot high, for the reasons people were breaking in, yeah, those days are gone. You know what I'm saying? All you have to do is just put a drop ladder onto it or a fold out. Okay? Everybody agree so far? Okay. I'm sorry. And maintenance, fire escapes shall be kept clear and obstructed at all times, shall be maintained, good working order. They shall be maintained free of corrosion, which means what? Painted. I gotta keep it painted. You know what they've never done in 75 to 125 years? Because it didn't exist. Caulking in the connections. Is there a code that says you gotta put caulking?
No.
But it must be maintained, so anybody that's a good painter will say, hey, let me caulk. Because when you paint your house, do you caulk your windows? So fire escapes should be caulked. Because that's when you ignore it and you don't, if I ignore this fire escape and I don't paint it for a long while, and I have caulking in the connection that's 35 to 50 year paintable silicone, what happens is that's what protects the bolts from, blowing out. You like the Oregon code? You like the exceptions? For the first time, the NFEA, National Fire Escape Association, we've been beating this drum for so long, and I didn't even know this came out. This came out, I found out about this June, July, I found that out when all of a sudden I was researching the state of Portland, Oregon wants you to load test fire escapes at 200 pounds per square foot. They misread the law. And in my research and speaking with the state fire marshal and the state building inspector, we identified where they broke the law. And they have been for the past 8 years load testing fire escapes at 200 pounds per square foot. Ripping buildings, one of my buildings, it ripped out of the wall, caused wall damage, all kinds of stuff, right? And so we finally said, from the state fire marshal, told me that's not the, and he goes, that's contrary to today's code that we just came out with. I said, what code you guys just come up with? And then he surprised me with this, and I went, oh. Because you guys are all about code. Where does it say that? Okay, guys? This is where it says that. Is it in your code yet? No, but can you adopt it? This is what it meant. You guys understand? This is sort of like an extension of what your code that only has 2 paragraphs. It has examination and it has materials and strength. Where does it clearly state the alternatives? Because the authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength has been around since 1927 in the NFPA, but nobody knew what that meant. They just clarified everything. So this is a merge of everything. It talks about signage, talks about alternatives, it talks about everything, and it's a simple 1104. It starts with, hey, 1104 country, 40 states have adopted 1104, but is there an alternative to it? The answer is yes. So can you guys bring some of this in to the IBC, or can you guys reference the 1104? That's up to how the fire marshals deal with this in your state. But the 2 best codes in the nation is IBC Boston, IBC Oregon, Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. Once you guys, it's there, go get it. Borrow it, steal it, copy it. Okay, so it's a merge of all these codes. Finally, it's somewhere. Some state finally came out with it, guys. All right, I'm gonna go quickly through this. Scaffold, this is the other, whenever you have a fire escape that it doesn't want to certify, this is all you need to do to it. Bring scaffolding. Why OSHA clearly states what you need to do. When you have a building that has people in it, now this is where the construction companies worry, because this is fines. You must maintain 2 means of egress at all times. So what you're supposed to do on a building that you're signing a permit off, and you guys do permit sign-offs before the thing? So what you need to do, and this is the thing that you want, is to say before you will allow a construction permit to go into place, we need to verify that there's 2 certified means of egress. So you can hold up permits for a while. And that's gonna get the wrath of the mayor, the wrath of the construction, the money flows and all this other stuff. Or you can say, hey, you don't have to fix your fire escape. Now, you'll eventually have to fix your fire escape at some point in time in this construction. What I need is what OSHA requires, and that's scaffolding. So you're not gonna stop the money train, the permit still goes out, but what do they have to put up? A temporary means of egress. And you block off the fire escape. All access to the fire escape is blocked. Because what do you have? And you're satisfying OSHA, satisfying the IFC, you're satisfying the IBC, and what do we have going on in this building for tenants that may be occupying this building at the current time? Second means of egress. And the code is very clear because you have to approve it. The fire in the building has to approve this scaffolding. And this scaffolding, as you can see, is 3 feet wide. 7-Eleven rise and run, railings, guards, protection. You're gonna allow construction scaffolding to egress people out that are still in the building? You want construction scaffolding that's only 2 feet wide, very steep? You're gonna allow that? Could be, if it's an empty building, you might. You say, you know what? This building is empty, it's only construction workers? Yeah, you may allow that. It's your call. Fire and building, you guys work it out. Got it? Questions so far, or is this a monologue? Shimmy singing. All right, let me see. Oh, this is gonna hit home. You guys saw this in Wildwood? All right, let's see.
From a surveillance camera mounted inside, this new view of last weekend's multi-level deck collapse in Wildwood and the panic that followed.
All firefighters. They all rented in this building, 3-story.
And below 2 upper-level decks that came crashing down Saturday evening. The second level falling first. On the video, a man appears from the rubble, his hand on the front door, before others come rushing from inside to open it and help. Amid the chaos, a man then emerges from the debris with a young child in his arms. They fall through the doorway just as the third floor deck collapses.
This gentleman's actions were heroic and life-saving, in my opinion.
Police body camera video we first brought you Thursday captured a team effort to rescue a volunteer firefighter trapped under debris. More than 20 people, including children and firefighters from South and North Jersey, were hurt in the deck collapse at this 7-unit condo building on Baker Avenue. Those firefighters and their families in Wildwood at the time for the annual New Jersey Firemen's Convention. It's unclear if investigators are any closer to figuring out what caused the collapse. I reached out to the city's construction official, but did not hear back by our deadline. In Wildwood, I'm Ted Greenberg, NBC 10 News.
So, all exterior, steel or wooden stairways, balconies and bridges, right? So guys, stop looking at all your construction stuff, right? Laws in effect, lawfully non-conforming. Guys, this is, what this means is that if I go look at a fire escape that was built in the 1920s and the bars are 8 inches apart, I certify it as of the date of its installation. They can voluntarily close those bars. They can voluntarily raise it from 36 to 42. You can't enforce today's code on any existing fire escape system, okay? It's lawfully non-conforming. And as long as they keep it maintained, they can keep it. They can voluntarily, with your suggestion, your strong suggestion, close things up, mesh things up, raise things, okay? But it's lawfully non-conforming, that's what it means.
When they rehab it though, is it?
Oh, that's a trigger.
That's a trigger.
That's a different trigger.
Okay.
Full 100% rehab, you know what I'm saying? You gotta bring it all up. Including your second means of egress. So that's the trigger. That's why sometimes people fix their fire escapes first before they do a full rehab. Okay? So, types of fire escapes, big ones. How many motels you got that have this? I keep blocking your view over here.
A little bit, that's okay.
Sorry.
You're good.
Guys, all balconies, right? It's part of our code. So this is a walkway. This is a fire escape walkway. Got to be looked at. So every motel you have needs to have these things examined. Holy shit! Is that the phrase that came out of that wouldn't come out of Northampton? They wouldn't allow it.
No.
It'd be a cold day in hell when that word is used. Right?
John Flagg must have been in the building.
I didn't say it.
So guys, some of you asked me, is this a fire escape? You know what I'm saying? They're all exterior, steel wooden stairways, balconies, bridges, all exterior. So it's your call how deep you want to get to it, but if it's outside the building, it must be maintained.
We're not talking about single family homes here, though.
Well, again, single family homes are a sacred cow in everybody's, bubble of things. I'm just telling you, the code is clear, all exterior, and you'll know whether or not you've done the right thing when the insurance company doesn't pay. Because believe me, they'll always try to pull building inspectors into all this. You guys didn't tell me, if only you told me, I would have done this. And it's not required by you for you guys to notify anybody. They're supposed to know. You own real estate, you're supposed to know all the codes, all the laws. Okay, whoa, jeez.
Here we go.
Yeah, that's the fast track. All right, so bridges, this is in Bentley College. I inspected this bridge because they own the private. I didn't get a chance to inspect this one, but this is Chelsea Homes. So catwalks, guy. You guys see this every now and then. Is that legal?
We have a ton of those.
They came out. They show up on Sundays. Home Depot ladder. The only thing you have to do to this, believe it or not, if I get this, and I speak with the fire official, the building official, and I say, hey, it needs a platform built. Okay, pretty simple. You've allowed this for 25, 35, 55 years. It's a ladder. It needs to be a real ladder. Can it be aluminum? The law says it can. and you must be able to get out the window, get on a platform, and then feed a ladder, whether it's this ladder, and it must get you to grade. And must be single action requiring no special knowledge. So can we turn this into a system with the approval of the building official and the fire official? Yeah. Can the fire official who doesn't like this landlord say, you know what? There's no permit showing that this ever went up. I don't care if it was 87 years ago. I want a door, a platform, a stair to grade. It all depends. I've had it go in all directions. So it depends on the building official. But again, the only thing you need to do to this way is put a platform here to prepare yourself to go down. And then make everything single action requiring no special knowledge. Are ladders still allowed today? No. If you have a ladder, can you keep it? Yes. Can you build new fire escapes? Yeah, you can. On an existing structure. Can I build a new fire escape today on a brand new structure where we're digging a hole in the ground and putting in foundations? No. No new fire escapes. But you can take a church, a factory, a barn, and can you make the fire escape part of your design concept to get people out of whatever you've in a pre-existing building? Yes. So is fire escapes going away? No. So can you take a mansion that has a central stair and somebody buys it and they turn it into 4 condos and use fire escapes to get everybody out? Yes. Otherwise, you're going to tear down a beautiful mansion. So fire escapes are around because they're a great cure for old structures. Slidescapes. You guys ever seen a slidescape? They exist. I have a slidescape on a 12-story building in New Jersey. Elizabeth, New Jersey has a slidescape inside. It's a corkscrew fire escape. Is it allowed still? Pre-existing non-conforming as of the day it's built. We had the Elizabeth Fire Department send somebody down because at the very bottom, in the last straight slide, there's an iron door that a paddle is there, that when you come down with your feet, you're supposed to kick this paddle, open the door, and then slide out.
Yeah, where's the cool. Yeah.
So, guys, this is at Rutgers University.
Nice.
And this is only for firefighter kids, you know, so you can't, nobody unless you're the kid of a firefighter. And they get to keep this. Why? It was one of the first trials, you know what I'm saying? The 1900s, they're like, hey, they never teach you how to slide a pole. I'm sure you guys realize that's not as easy as it looks. But this is a legal fire escape at Rutgers University. All right, guys, you guys have these things popping around a lot of times, okay? Time check, please.
Let's see. 250. 250, yeah.
Oh, ready? This is going to be a machine gun from here on. Ready? So, guys, those bag ladders, are they allowed to have? Is it allowed as a second means of egress?
No.
Nope. But it's a third means of egress. You can have 15 of those in your house. They're allowed as a third means of egress. They're never considered a second means of egress, okay? Spirals allowed? Yep. Can I get a spiral today? Nope. You're supposed to have, the only reason spirals were ever allowed is because you didn't have room. You know, there was limitation. Otherwise, spirals, you can't get a hose up and you can't get people down at the same time. It's a one-way system. So, but if you have an existing spiral, do I have to certify it as a pre-existing lawfully non-conforming? Yes, I do. Should you allow spirals? Nope. Only when there's constraints and there's no room and the spiral is the only solution, which is nothing but a twisted ladder. Just, you know, it's a one-way system because firemen can't go up with hoses. And people can't come down at the same time. Okay? Cantilevers. When cantilevers are out of balance, you can see them. This is what they look like when they're out of balance, and they usually have a chain. As soon as you have a fire escape cantilever with a chain, it's out of balance. And so a child will have to go out almost to here. A 50-pound child has to go all the way to the end for it to drop, and does it drop at 2 feet per second?
No.
Right? And as soon as you get off the fire escape, it wants to go right back up, and it'll scrape your back or hurt you. And then the fireman arrives. How do you get that? How do you get it to come down? Only with a pike pole, right?
Yeah.
And when you bring it down, what do you have to? You're going to lose one fireman fighting the blaze, doing what? Documentation. Tons of documentation. Here's what the fire escape tags look like on a fire escape. Okay. I already showed you the thing.
So are those cantilevers allowed today to be put in? Or?
Oh, you can still have it.
It's on.
I have to get you to grade.
Get grade, okay.
The drop ladder or cantilever over a sidewalk, primarily, every time we have a sidewalk. This is what fire escape tags look like on, and you can see them. This is what it looks like. Imagine you're going to a fire and you see this big white thing. You gonna get on it? You are.
Yeah.
It's yellow. Can you get on it? Yeah. Yes, you can, because it's been made functional while under repair. If you see a red one, you wanna get on it? Has names, numbers, phone numbers, who wrote it, who inspected it, everything's on there. And when the next inspection date is due. Okay, testing and certification. Basically, they think you guys certify fire escapes. And when you guys tell us just to fix a tread, that's all they have to fix to satisfy your violation. Say, nope, it's a full violation. This is the rust. I showed you what 1 inch of rust looks like. Right, confidence test. I already gave you a copy of the Lowell test. That's all my questions. Lowell absorbed our questions. It's the #1 IBC, and it has load testing on the backside and what code to follow. So these are all the various cities that we've worked with: Tacomas, Portland, Seattle's. Right now, Portland is wacky. They want you to load test fire escapes at 200 pounds. So we're fighting the city, but the state has come through with their code to say, nope, they're wrong. Engineers, you gotta be careful of engineers, because engineers who don't have a questionnaire to follow will give you an opinion. And then they end the opinion with, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is ready for its intended use today. What about tomorrow? Give me some more money tomorrow, I'll tell you. So be very careful. These engineer letters are not always right. This is a typical engineer that they said, just paint it, just paint it. I went there, look at all the bolts that I could pull with my hands on a report that I got from an engineer. Expert witness, a lot of fire escape fatalities. People have fallen from fire escapes. Firemen have fallen from fire escapes. I've done all of them. Firemen have, there's various, activities that happen. People have fire escapes ripping off their building because, they repair it themselves. They don't, iron is guaranteed to rust. Even as you paint it. When you paint a fire escape, you just slow down the inevitable. It's going to rust. You know what I'm saying? Sometime in its life. You can make it last 100 years or you can make it last 50 years. Okay? So this is the example of today's load testing that's happening, guys. Load testing is happening here when people are out there smoking. You know that fire escapes is the new smoking room? Everybody know that, right? If you're smoking whatever you're smoking, guess where you smoke it now? You smoke it on a fire escape. Look at this. This is an additional. Now, does fire escape kill us? That picture that you see right here, one of my guys out of Chicago, his father, 57 years old, fell 7 stories to his death while fixing the fire escape. So fire escapes don't care, it'll kill anybody. What's behind the wall is what's important, guys. Because right now, this is the through bolt. Typical through bolt on every fire escape is 3/4 thick. 3/4. But once this rots inside the building, like some of these pictures that you're looking at, okay? So I'm gonna go quickly showing that, inside the wall, it gets fed water also. This is the first load test in the nation of a fire escape training tower. Oakland became the first in the nation to get their fire escape raised. In San Francisco, a fireman that had the water pressure turn on, guess what happened? He got blown over in San Francisco, a 36-inch rail. So when the water pressure on a valve that was open sprayed him, he fell off the fire escape. Oakland stopped training their guys until further notice, and they raised their railings to 42. Everybody in America has grown 6 inches. So guys, all your fire towers that have railings at 36, it's simple. The railings stay, they get another 6 inches of raise, and that's all it is. So if you have training towers, please have them examined and load tested. So that's the first, okay? Load testing. You guys wanna know what load testing is? This is load testing. Sandbags. This is the oldest way to do it. You get 50-pound sandbags, you got a bunch of guys, and you cascade. You start at the top, and you cascade the fire escape. And you have to do every platform, every tread, Okay? This is another way to do it, and that is you run cables, you keep the weight at the ground, then you run cables, and then you put in 2,000 or 3,000 pounds of load. Okay? Sometimes you get fire escapes that are built in the 1900s and they forgot to put rails in. There's no rails here. And people fall down. And it's acceptable. This just happened in New York right now. I have a hotel that has immigrants from other border people, and one of the guys fell through from the 4th floor and survived. Because there was no internal rail on the fire escape on a hotel. All right, I'm going to very quickly just so the process has improved. So load testing, there is documentation that comes along with load testing. We're the only ones doing it. Because nobody's been load testing. It's really, so I can, we have all the documentation that says, to satisfy fire official, building official, engineers, that if they want to read a little bit about what we're doing, but basically it's 100 pounds per square foot. How we put it up is all calculated. Expert witness cases, guys. I'm sorry that this is my first case, New York, firefighter fell through here. He came up, he fell through here, through 2 or 3 treads gave way, he fell down to here, then he came back up, saved the woman, but he was 28 years old, permanently disabled. The uniqueness of this case is that he was not only out on disability and for the rest of his life, but he sued the owner of the building for not properly maintaining his fire escape, because we were able to prove that he hadn't touched it for almost 50 years. Do you understand? And so he got through the back door. They settled very quickly because of that, okay? So again, I've done cases all over the country, and that's where everything is going right now. So in case you know anybody that got hurt on a fire escape, it's not only a comp case for you guys. You can sue the guy directly, because the law says you have to do it every 5 years, and if you haven't, you hurt me on this fire escape. I didn't get hurt during work. You hurt me because you left something that should have been maintained at all times. So insurance companies, like I said, are not paying. They're not paying. They just need one excuse. And if you have a 5-year rule in your state, guess what? They're not going to pay. Okay, so I'm sorry that I'm just fast forwarding through. Guys, we have a new system that I created called the Rosetta system. What's that mean? That most of these fire escapes I can't even fix anymore after a certain time, and they're going to need to be replaced. So the Rosetta system is basically a fire escape in a box that's going to replace a lot of these fire escapes, and they're going to come to you galvanized. So you can take a fire escape out, you don't have to worry about the connections in, because you leave a stubby out, and you just basically, it's sometimes going to be cheaper to pull a fire escape off the building, put a replacement on it that is galvanized, gives you 75 more years, and hopefully they'll tear down that building eventually. But you put a fire escape on it, because you can't repair them any, the lead issues and all this other stuff, it just causes all kinds. So the one thing I want to remind you guys on this, and I'll leave it here, is that, just a recap. Do I want a load test? No. Can you force a load test? You can. You can say, I want a load test because you don't like the engineer or you don't like the people or whatever. Because your assurance is that your firefighters are going to be safe and the people in the building are going to be safe. But the engineer, can he pull the load test? Yeah, because it's his liability. So if he wants to, he can force a load test and you can't say no. But a lot of them just give you opinion affidavits nowadays. But the confidence test, you're gonna take a standard letter from any engineer or any architect in the future that says, hey, it looks good to me, I kind of like it, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is good today. You're gonna take one of those ever again? Yeah. Who's the city that has a confidence test to copy and cheat from? Not cheat from, just borrow, Lowell, number 1 in the city, so go copy that, it's ready to go. Welding witch doctors, allowed? No. Can they do an emergency repair? Yes. Right after that, what happens?
Goes into regular repair.
Goes into regular repair or regular restoration. So some guys will put a bolt into a connection and the rust stays in there. What's that called?
Emergency repair.
Well, yeah, and it's also a repair, meaning it's wrong. So if you have a connection that has rust, what do you have to do? Open it up, remove all the rust, put the connection back in, put a fresh new bolt, hopefully caulk it and seal it and paint it. That's a restoration. So when you restore a fire escape, you get 25 years. That's what you should be getting from these guys fixing fire escapes. If they repair the fire escape with a bolt, remove all the rust, reinforce the metal as necessary, or replace it with like in kind. If you put primer in that connection, and then you put caulking in that connection, then you seal it, you put a fresh new bolt, we guarantee it for 25 years, structurally. They must keep it painted. And even if they don't paint it, they let it look like that, but then every connection has been sealed, then just paint it again. You guys understand? So fire escapes are easy, guaranteed to rust. So I just want to make sure you guys understand. We're not about load testing. That's not what this class was about. It is to get rid of all welding witch doctors. So please don't ever let a welding witch doctor kill another 2 firemen in one day. Don't let that happen ever again. And the Lowell confidence test is a checklist. That's all it is. A checklist that he's got to sign, stamp, submit, and if there's crap on that, if it's toilet paper, and something happens 1, 2, or 3 years later, that's the person that falsified a document to you. That's the class, guys. We only had a couple of sleepies in here, but not too many. But everybody, remember, it's going to be a cold day in hell when I come back, unless you guys invite me to come back again. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.